What's going on, and welcome back to another gear review and setup. And in this video we're going to be going over the Black Trident IV sleeve. Now, for those of you that don't know, Black Trident is a tactical gear company out of Austria in Europe, and they make a handful of different nylon tactical and medical products, as well as a couple of Kydex holsters for a handful of guns for that European market, as well as those European militaries, special operations, and law enforcement organizations. So reason why I have this here now, one of my good buddies that I previously served with out in Europe is going to be retiring from U.S. Special Operations and staying out there in Europe, working with Black Trident as well as a couple of other companies, and really just kind of digging into that European market and seeing what they have tactically, and sending things back periodically for us to review and then hopefully recommend to the American market as far as helping you guys, or hopefully helping you guys, determine what products may help enhance your ability to set yourself up for success for your mission, operational environment, duty position, and or preparedness. So with that, I'm going to dive right into this product, talk about it, and then go into a actual setup with the whole thing. So quick disclaimer, I'm not a medic. I've done a couple of T-Tri-C courses. I've done a couple of CLS courses as well as IV starter courses. So with that limited knowledge, I'm going to give my recommendation. Hopefully here in the future I'll actually be able to get into an EMT and an EMT advanced course, and then that way I can provide a little bit more of like the whys behind things. So with that, bear with me. I'm going to work based off of my experience with it. If there's something that you like or don't like, definitely leave it in the comments and share your guys' experience, so that way guys can be better prepared if they choose to go out and purchase these guys for their medical equipment and all that. So with that, this IV sleeve is really kind of designed to just help organize all of your IV equipment, so that way you have kind of a working surface to work off of, rather than just having kind of a vacuum sealed bag or just standard packaging that most of this stuff comes with, and kind of working off of a loose tray, so to speak. So this organizer is for that purpose and intent of organization. Overall, when it comes to this IV sleeve, it is going to cost you about $42 US, about 39 euros if you're working off the euro. And then it is made out of a laminate nylon for the main sleeve portion that you can see there. And then there is quite a bit of elastic on the exterior for different pockets and loops and all that stuff to be able to store all the equipment that you see here. And then you do have quite a bit of shock cord for an array of different uses, and then also this 550 cord up at the top to be able to hang this whole entire sleeve from really anything, to be able to support that gravity feed system. So with that, this is also designed to be able to run your IV bottles as well as the IV bags that you have here. These loops down at the bottom are for the bottles, and you don't need them for the bags. Really all that these guys do is when you slide that bottle into the sleeve, this is going to be the bottom, and these are going to wrap around the neck of the bottle, so then that way it retains that bottle inside of the sleeve and doesn't fall out the bottom. So that's what that's for. You don't need them for the bags. I think it's kind of a personal preference as far as whether or not you want to use bags or bottles. There's also the aspect of you may just get whatever your organization gives you, so that is something to consider as well. I know for U.S. military stuff, you're usually always getting the bags. These things are super nice, compact, easy to pack away for the most part, but I have seen these pop in the past, and I'm sure the bottles have a tendency to pop if you put a lot of pressure on them, but the little bit of experience that I have with those bottles, they are a little bit more robust in my opinion. So with that, just things to think about, but this will support both systems when it comes down to it. So with that overall setup, you have your nylon laminate sleeve. You do have a large pocket here on the front. So the front side of this is where that little logo is from Black Trident. You guys can see it. Hopefully help narrow you guys in when it comes to finding the company itself. You have your two larger pockets up front here, which is going to be for your Tegaderm, as well as sponges, alcohol prep pads, and then ACE or self-adhesive ACE wrap if you want to throw that in here. You do have these two looped portions for your IV catheters, as well as additional needles if you want to run those in here as well, which can be thrown in the laminate nylon slot and or the elastic loop right here at the bottom. And then here on the back side, we have our lanyard system to be able to hang this and get that gravity feed system going. And then we have our two bottom loops here at the bottom, and then we have our two larger loops for our actual IV line that we have here. And then here on the right hand side, we have our drawstring system. So this will adjust to various sizes of IV bags, and you can run anything from your 500 milliliters up for the most part. I think I was able to fit this around 1,000 or a 2,000 milliliter bag if I remember correctly. So it will work for pretty much anything 500 milliliters and up. But with that, that kind of just outlines all of it. Just a quick thing on the stitching too. When it comes to the stitching, your exterior pocket stitching is just single stitched, but everything that you're going to be sliding items in and out of for your catheters as well as your IV line is double stitched, so it is pretty robust. It won't tear away on you when it comes down to it. So that's a really nice thing to have that double stitching in there. So overall, really good construction. There is essentially kind of a middle to this as well, and where that middle is where these two bottom loops are, as well as your lanyard system up here at the top. So that's roughly the middle. This is going to be your front side, this is going to be your back side. So with that, it's kind of the general outline. So I'll go ahead and just start packing this thing up for you guys so that way you can see how it's set up. So with your IV bag, it's just going to slide in from the top and then down to the bottom. Make sure that you loosen up your drawstring on the sides, so that way it will allow you to run this in there. But this is generally what it will look like when it's actually set up. And then we'll just loosen these up for now until we have to get to the point where we have to tighten them up. But just real quick, I'm not going to do it on this guy because these guys really aren't meant for these bags, but these little loops right here, like I said, are for the neck of that bottle. All you'll do is adjust that loop, wrap it around the neck, tighten it down around that neck, and then that will hold that bottle into place so that way it doesn't fall out, like I kind of previously talked about. For these bags, you don't need them, so all you have to do is just tuck them away on the front and on the back. And then from there, you'll just go over to the side and tighten things up nice and neat, like so. And then just adjust that little drawstring clasp down to that, and then you should be good to go. And then from there, you can just take your excess and tuck it away. I like to pull it out the top here just so that way it's not in the way and I don't have any slack or anything that can get caught on anything. So that is how you would set up your IV bag with that sleeve. A little bit different setup when it comes to the bottle style, but that way you can get both when it comes down to it. Online on their website, they do have the bottle set up in their pictures, so you'll be able to see how the kind of exact process is for setting those up. But with that, from here, this large nylon laminate pocket is for your tegaderm. So you're just gonna throw that right in there. And then it will just kind of protrude just a little bit like that, so that way you have easy access to it. And then from there, for just your standard kind of NAR saline lock kits, you'll get some of this additional all-purpose sponge and alcohol prep pads. Those go in the smaller pocket if you want to, and I would recommend it. I recommend getting two roughly 10 to 12 inch portions of adhesive ace wrap, and then that way when it comes to securing that line to your arm or wherever it is, but specifically the arm, you can wrap a portion of that adhesive wrap to the upper portion of the forearm, and then the lower portion of the forearm and or around the hand, and then that way it helps secure your IV line to the actual individual and prevents that IV from actually getting pulled out of the individual. So with that, you just take those two sections of self-adhesive ace wrap, your all-purpose sponge and IV or alcohol prep pads, and just stuff them into that elastic pocket here at the bottom, nice and neat like so. And then those are what those two exterior pockets are for. From there, These two loop portions right here are going to be for all your needles. If you want to use like drug needles and all that stuff, if you're carrying drugs because you're in a medical position, you can fit those right here like so. Those will fit right in there. I just got one right now, but those will work right there for that. And then from there, what you can do is you can actually fit 2 to 4 additional IV catheters through these other loops. So from there, from top to bottom is usually the easiest way to do it. You'll just push those IV catheters in. I've got 2 different versions here, so that way you can kind of see how they would both go in here. But it'll be up to you and or whatever you just get issued for your IV catheters, and just throwing them in here. I kind of prefer having the hard shell ones on this rather than the paper plastic wrap ones. Those hard shell ones just kind of fit a lot neater in here than having all this extra material sticking out. So if you can get those hard shell ones, I would recommend those over these guys. So but those are where the IV catheters are going to go. And then moving to the back side here, we also have that slotting for our IV line. A couple ways to set this up. If you do decide to pull it out of the packaging, you can S-fold this and it'll create essentially a system to where you won't have to worry about it tangling up on itself. And then I would recommend running just a paper style tape around this, so that way when you have to employ it, it doesn't tangle up on you. And what will end up happening, I'll kind of show you real quick once it's all put together. Once you S-fold all this, is when you pull this out, you'll have this end on one side, and then you'll have your IV line needle end on this side. You just take these and pull them apart like that, and you're good to go. So with that, let's wrap this up real quick again. So, and then from there, definitely recommended. Well, I guess you could say it isn't really a recommendation. It is nice when you have one of these on one side and one of these on the other, so then that way you just grab and pull separately. You can do the same if they're both coming out the same side, but it doesn't really matter. But when it comes to setting up this guy in the actual loops right here, I'd recommend going top first. So run all of your line through that top portion, secure it, and then come down here to the bottom portion and run it through the bottom portion. And then from there, it's just adjusting things to where it's just nice and neat, and then pre-staging it, so then that way when you need to employ all of this, you can just pull essentially the center portion. You pull this top loop up, pull the center out, and then pull it all the way out when you need it. So that is how you set up your IV line on there. And then from there, you're going to have your elastic shock cord here on the side. The nice thing with this is you can use this for a couple of different things. So if you give yourself a little bit of slack, loosen up these portions. We're going to use just this top portion and the bottom portion right here to stow our syringe in the event that you're carrying a syringe and you have drugs and all that stuff. So we're going to throw that in right there, and then from there we're also going to take our armband for that IV starter kit and run that in there as well. So, and that essentially completes setting up your IV sleeve on an IV bag and or IV bottle. And then last but not least, we have our lanyard. I just like to wrap this all the way around and then take your carabiner that comes with it, push it up and through, and then pull nice and tight, so then that way it keeps it nice and organized, and that lanyard doesn't get tangled up and wrapped around and prevent you from employing this when you need it. And then when you need to pull it out, you just open or pull that 550 cord up and out of the way, and then it unravels and you're good to go. So with that, the last thing, there is a bag that comes with it. It is just a little bit too small for this, but I have talked to Black Trident. They are going to try and get a bigger bag for the sleeve when it comes or gets shipped out to you. So with those bags, when you do get them, they'll probably have kind of one of those zipper lock things, not your standard one, but what I recommend is build your whole entire kit, get that all set up with the bottle and or the bag, and then from there you'll be able to hopefully slide it back into the Ziploc bag. And then I would recommend just making a little cut on your Ziploc bag, so that way when you have to rapidly employ this, you're just taking this bag, pulling this portion off, pulling that whole entire IV kit out of the bag itself, and then employing that kit as needed as kind of a secondary measure or safety measure to make sure that you don't lose any of your medical supplies for your IV starter kit and all that. So hopefully here in the near future you'll see that little tiny change for the plastic bag that this all gets shipped in, so then that way again you just have that safety measure to keep all your stuff organized. But with that, that is pretty much it when it comes to setting this guy up. If you guys have any recommendations, if you're actually a medic or anything like that, give your input as far as setting one of these guys up, so that way the viewers and all that stuff and everybody that watches this video can get that information from more experienced individuals. And then I'll definitely have Black Trident hopefully linked into the comment section and all that stuff, so that way if anybody has any specific questions they can answer those questions directly. But with that, if you do have any questions, please feel free and ask. We will help you out in any way that we can. If it's something that's very specific to a medical professional, I will get one of them to put their comments in the comment section to help you guys out in any way that we can. So with that, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.